It's impossible to imagine that which you have yet to experience, which is what makes all of these videos beyond strange. Number 11. This video was taken in 2001 by the Mills family while hiking Marble Mountain in Maine. Their leader, Jim Mills, zooms in on what could be a humanoid watching them across a pond.
At us?
I don't see it.
Moving now.
The tree is? It's to the right of him. It's walking that way. Trees.
Do you see?
Okay. See the King's Castle?
Yeah. He's that kind of little.
As it approaches the group, we get a better glimpse at its strange shape. Even from this distance, its shoulders look broad, and it has a powerful lower body with arms that come down to its knees.
It does not look like a person. Its arms are way too big. Look at how long the hands hang down to the...
At 6 minutes and 9 seconds, the creature seems to point at them and wave its fist. My theory is that, assuming this is real, the creature is guarding its only water source and telling them to come no closer. You may think that this creature looks somewhat small from this distance, but considering the fact that his camera is zoomed all the way in, it's actually giant, but it could also simply be CGI. Number 10. I'm trying to figure out if this person is really a modern day Zen master or a simple street magician with a neat trick. He seems to be hovering in midair with nothing to support him, and not a single person in the audience of all ages can figure out how this is being done. With that said, I do notice a stick that he never lets go of. Either this is giving him strange levitating powers, which I somehow doubt, or he is using it to run something down his sleeve. Perhaps a small platform hidden under his clothes for him to sit on. I can't quite figure this one out, so give me some help if you know. As amazing as this would be if it was real, I can't help but think that someone who is this enlightened would probably be wise enough to keep their knowledge away from the public instead of putting on some sunglasses and showing off. With that said, if there was a video that showed him going from a standing position to floating, then I would be more inclined to believe. Number 9. A CCTV video captures an ill-mannered apparition as it ravages a store just 20 minutes shy of 3 a.m. It slinks across the far wall first, knocking 2 items off the opposite shelf as it moves down the aisle. To be honest though, the way this object on the top shelf gets caught at 13 seconds looks like it could be pulled by a string. Next, the shadow somehow passes across the aisle without appearing in the glass or the bright reflection on the floor. A minute later, the door to the cooler shakes hard enough to rattle the glass in its pain. Camera 7 shows the outside of the cooler, and camera 8 shows the inside. Nobody is anywhere nearby, or in the entire store for the matter, and yet the door shakes uncontrollably. I think this could be a real poltergeist because of one simple fact. This door is airtight to keep the drinks cold, it has no knob to grab onto, and must be opened with a button on the wall. Therefore, I don't think somebody could have made it shake like this, even if they stood on the other side and tried. Number 8. A YouTube channel called Exploring with Angelina is with some friends, and they are exploring an abandoned house that was apparently the scene of some very horrible events. The house is certainly creepy, and as they explore, the video has a feeling of unease, almost like something could pop out at any second. But it's at the 9-minute and 32-second mark when Angelina's friend looks into a dark room that things get beyond strange. She sees something so creepy, it sends her leaving with a high-pitched scream.
Oh my God.
Inside the room is basically a spider fortress, with webs covering almost every inch of the room. I feel bad for any future urban explorer who accidentally walks into that room, especially if you have a fear of spiders. This would be enough to scare you for life. Number 7. This girl sobs into her long black hair, and her wails of sorrow are beyond strange. Take a listen and tell me if the cries are really coming from her, or if they've been layered over top. And just when her hair parts, and we see movements from seeing her face, if this really is a roadside ghost, then whoever is filming this should be ready for a serious haunting. I don't know much about video editing, but I will say that the video is low quality, which is a sign of computer rendering, and the upward transition looks a little rough around the edges, so although this video could be real and from a long time ago, I do have some doubts. Number 6. These videos posted by the Washington State Department of Transportation in January of 2020 have had thousands of people retweeting and speculating as to what was spotted that day on Sherman's Pass. The webcam photo shows a mysterious creature with not a trace of skin showing beneath, not even around the eyes and face. It doesn't look like a person, and it doesn't look like a costume, but it does look like it could be a bipedal humanoid covered in fur. One day later, a new official video of the same species, if not the same specimen, was released by the Department of Transportation. This time spotted at the Snoqualmie Pass, over 4 hours away. I think this second sighting looks more like a person than the first, and I think they might even be wearing a pair of boots, but it's too far away to tell. I think maybe this is a person who was inspired by the first sighting. It's too bad that this supposed creature chose to walk away from the camera instead of towards it, so we could get a better look. What's different about both of these sightings, and most others, is the source. This is a government agency, not some random person on YouTube, so I think it's safe to say that something was definitely out there on both days. Whether it was a human or a real creature though, I cannot say. Maybe one day soon a third sighting will give us the final piece of evidence we need to make a solid conclusion. Number 5. TheDanimator's channel captures an eerie pair of glowing white eyes peering down from high above. TheDanimator says that he suspects this could be a raccoon, and I think it might be an owl. But one thing that's weird is how the eyes briefly changed from white to orange, from 23 seconds to 32 seconds. Maybe I'm wrong, but even animal eyes shouldn't be able to do that. Animal or not, this strange creature is definitely not what you'd want to see perched outside of your house in the middle of the night. I really wish he was able to shine the camera light on the creature to reveal its true form, but I guess he was either too scared or excited to do that at the time. Oh well, there's always next time. Number 4. Reets Boy records what he thinks is a rare creature sighting, and while I think he might be right, I would like your help to confirm. Some of the dogs in his neighborhood are going crazy, so he zooms in on where they're barking and just barely makes out this figure possibly watching from afar. At 38 seconds, you get a much better look when he zooms in.
Bro, do you see it?
It's hard to tell for sure, but I think something is definitely there, and it kind of looks like the upper half of a shadow person. Fear suddenly overcomes Reets Boy, and he runs back inside before it gets any closer. Definitely the smart choice. Number 3. There's a video called You Will Never Find Me that was posted over 10 years ago on a channel called Waiting to Play, and I think it might be a bizarre project from someone out of their mind. Half of the video follows someone from a library to a parking lot, and then at 1 minute and 18 seconds, I think they are being chased while trying to call the authorities. It keeps cutting back to this random person rocking back and forth under some covers, presumably against their will, and then they are laying dazed on the ground, moving slowly as if they are barely conscious. A man in a white mask holds a hammer while kneeling over what appears to be a person, perhaps the very same person who was running away before, judging by their clothes. He holds up his sign and seems to silently brag about the fact that he's getting away with this. If this is real, it's more than a decade old, and since it's still online, it's either an art project or an obscure video that the authorities have yet to find. Number 2. This retro arcade room is ruined by faulty wiring, or else a real ghost. To demonstrate, the owner picks up the remote to his ceiling fan and turns the light off.
Let's see. Oh, there it is. Wow.
The lights somehow turn on by themselves despite not touching the remote at all. At 4 seconds, we can see the nearest light switches all the way across the room from the distinctive shark skateboard that he's now standing by, so he couldn't have hit that himself, and no one else is with him. Then, not only does the fan turn on by itself, but it also kind of goes the wrong way for a little bit first, which I don't think is normal. In a different video, the light looks much brighter than before, yet returns to normal brightness when turned off and back on. This time he turns the light out and leaves the remote on the wall. He steps out towards the middle of the room, and the light comes back on before he even gets a chance to properly set up his camera. Based on what I've seen here, I think these videos are real, because nothing stood out as blatantly fake. If this house is haunted, let's just hope it's not a malevolent spirit. After all, you wouldn't want to give up an arcade setup that nice. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills, and if you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. Have you seen the number 15 music video yet? If not, you're definitely missing out. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person, so if you're generous enough to hit the subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way, you'll be notified of the new videos I upload every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Number 1. A Reddit user named Poncy Flauns hears something outside of his home that leaves him too afraid to move. Listen to this part and tell me if you hear a creepy woman's voice carrying a twisted tune. The haunting melody repeats over and over again, growing louder each time. There's no way that this is an animal. One person commented that this sounds like it could be an opera, and I can't say that they're wrong. Listen again.
Like, what is that?
Then you hear what sounds to me like a cry for help, and the singing never returns. If I lived in that house, I would be immediately locking all the doors and windows. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, or in this case, 1,000 screams.